Welcome to Telling the Tale. It's the podcast where we'll go through every single Telltale video game, and in this episode, we're going to finish them. We're going to play the very last one. I'm your host, Mitchell Farley-Wolf, joined as always by other co-host, Dustin Jackson.
You said just my normal name.
Well, I figured that we should stop lying.
Yeah, better late than never, I guess.
This is the last canonical episode of Telling the Tale, and then we'll have a talking Telling the Tale after this.
Love that.
Yeah, to mirror The Talking Dead, a show that I cannot believe existed. Can you even wrap your head around that like on broadcast television
they just had a show where they talk about The Walking Dead?
Yeah, they had The Walking Dead, which was a very popular show for a bit, and it isn't anymore. And then immediately after, on broadcast television, they had a podcast essentially like ours, just talking about what you just saw for an hour.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing where I'm like, oh, that works as a podcast, but like as something you play on TV?
Yeah, and they kept saying things like, I think broadcast television is really healthy like right now.
It's actually really good.
I think it's actually the next big thing after podcasts as well as before podcasts.
Yeah, and it can only get stronger.
TV broke.
Yeah, whoops.
We broke it with capitalism.
Well, now streaming feels like it's breaking.
Yeah, we break a lot of things with capitalism. But
whoops.
Yeah, The Walking Dead, Season 4, Episode 4, take us back. The final episode of The Walking Dead and the final released... Well, I guess it's not the final release game within the Telltale era of Telltale games because Episode 2 of this season was, but it's the end of a continuous era of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Released on March 26th, 2019, only about 2 years before we started this podcast.
That's not too long.
Yeah, no, not at all. It's pretty recent. Directed by Chris Rebert, and I should note that the creative director of this season was Kent Muddle. Designed by Michael Kirkbride. I don't know why I said Mark. Chris Rebert and Jean-Francois Gastaya. Written by Adam Esquenazi Douglas, James Windler, Mark Kenny, and Lauren Mee.
You know
what a group of characters.
Great job, guys. You know what the most fucked thing is about this episode, though?
Tell me about it.
It's not even the final episode of The Walking Dead I played, and I just played it today.
Yeah. So
I had to go back and finish 400 days because I didn't play it for this definitive collection.
You did not have to do that.
I didn't, but I wanted to... You know, I love The Walking Dead. I wanted to have, like, a complete achievement thing for it.
So did you replay Season 1 for all the achievements on this version of the game another time?
Yeah, I did it for when we played Season 2, just because I wanted it to go off my choices. I didn't want to... It would feel false if I didn't replay Season 1 and then jump right into Season 2.
But when you did that, you didn't care about replaying 400
No,
days.
400... Who gives a shit? 400 days has
totally
no impact.
Yeah, so that's wild, actually. So even since we played Episode 1 of Walking Dead for this show, you have since played the whole Season 1 of Walking Dead again?
Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, you really like this game, huh?
Oh, love it. Season 1, I thought was the best in the series. Now I don't know if I can quite say that anymore. I mean, maybe. But I feel like Season 4, just extraordinarily strong in its own ways. I feel like it's too fresh for me to say, like, oh no, this is the best one now. But, like, boy, what a huge, massive upgrade from Seasons 2 and 3. And I liked Season 3 and 2, but I've already been singing its praises these last 3 episodes, but they really just nailed the perfect tone, the perfect way to have you actually care about these characters.
Yeah, I feel like there there's stumbles across the 4 seasons, especially in early season 2, I guess
Yeah.
I'll say. Season 2, episode 4, I reckon is probably the singular worst Walking Dead episode.
I agree.
In terms of just interesting things happening, or
it's
the design
so
of the choices working out.
Any of the deaths mattering.
But, like, I came out of season 2, especially because of how they landed the ending.
They stick the landing.
Very positively. And I went through season 3 expecting it to be the worst season, and I still think it is, even though 2 is much less consistent. And I thought it was still, like, very solid for what this genre of game is trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
As a whole, as a 19 episode, I throw 400 Days in there, as a 20 episode epic, it is a beautiful video game. It is really, really strong.
Totally.
It is easily the best, especially if you like take these seasons to be seasons of a larger thing and not just individual games. It's, I think, the best Telltale series. Period.
I think it's. Yeah. I still would not say it's like my number one favorite, but it's more just because I love Monkey Island so much. But I do think it is the strongest, just overall.
Yeah, I maybe put. I think Tales of Monkey Island. I don't want to say it's bad at all. I loved it.
You were a little softer than I was.
I was. Because it's not even my favorite Monkey Island, but it's got to be in my top 5 Telltale series.
I think that's good enough.
Walking Dead has become number 1, I think, especially with the way that this season rounds out.
I'm glad.
Yeah, listeners at home, I know that sometimes you go listen to our podcast on no intention to play the game yourselves. Play it yourself. This one has earned it, I think, in a way that is pretty beautiful. Yeah, I mean, this is the final episode of the whole thing, so
yeah,
you've probably already made that choice, and I can't change your mind about how you do your stuff now, but I do think that you should play this game. It was really, really special.
It's totally worth it, and I have to say, I felt bad making my sister wait to play it with me, because she wanted us to play it together. You know, we played all the other ones together. And I made her wait to go through it until we got to the end of this podcast. But I feel like one specific scene that they throw at you right at the end, I feel like really made it worth it. Made it worth waiting. And my sister even said to me today, like, I don't quite know if I get her reasoning for it, but she said, "Oh, I'm glad we waited to play it now."
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that means either. But like, it does convey that it's special, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. What's interesting is that there's a number of moments I think you could be talking about, but I actually don't know which one.
We'll get.
There were just a good amount of times that I felt really strongly impacted. There is one time that made me actually cry, and so I was texting my girlfriend who has played, I think, most of, not even all of the first season of this game, and I said, I just finished the last episode of Walking Dead, and I'm crying about it. And she goes, "Zombies too hard?"
You were crying because it was too hard a game?
Zombies are too scary?
I've had it with this.
No, yeah. No, I had to explain the whole... It took a long time, and I don't think she really got the context.
Yeah, so when I was playing it, I did not cry while playing it, but then on the drive home, I thought, oh, you know what? I'll load up that song they play in the credits and just listen to it while driving home, and just blubbering like a baby in the car.
Wow. Ever since season 2 of this game, my Xbox has been crashing right on the credits. So I have to go manually to the credits in order to get all the names that I read at the top of these episodes.
It didn't do that for you this episode, did it?
It only didn't do it this time.
You know what's so crazy? It didn't do it for me this time either, and it also didn't do it for me for the last episode of season 1.
That I guess that makes sense.
That feels
the last
like,
episode of a game doesn't do that. Maybe that's something.
That just feels like there is a magic being out there that made it so they said, you know what? It's gonna crash every other time, but these 2 times are special, and we will not do it.
Oh, if I were to guess what's happening,
mm-hmm.
my little deductive reasoning, is that in the earlier episodes of a season, there's something that happens right when you get to credits where it logs the choices that you've made to pull next episode.
Okay.
But at the last episode of the season, it doesn't have to do that because there's no more episodes after that.
Mm-hmm.
So it not doing that means that it doesn't cause the crash, because I think the crash is caused by that process.
Oh, maybe. I mean,
that would be my completely uneducated guess.
I don't know, because there have been a couple times it has not crashed before as well on just random episodes.
All right.
It normally does, but
yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know.
Yeah, sorry, Slapshot.
Sorry, Slapshot. That's me.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I do want to... We'll talk about the specifics in the episode. We're already a good 10 minutes in, but I just... yeah, having finished The Walking Dead, I think that this game... Season 1 is probably the best. Season 1 is still probably, like, the most recommendable, like, wow, just try these 5 episodes, and if you like more, play more, but... This is a fine individual thing to recommend to someone. But...
Right.
Even though season 1 is the best, having that full Clementine arc is far better than just season 1.
Totally. With
like,
its highs
seeing
and
the whole
lows.
thing is like wildly better than season 1. And because that culminates in season 4, I feel like I'm giving that to season 4.
Mm-hmm.
But really, like, what I felt in playing through this episode was everything that came before for this character. Everything that Clementine has ever been through, I was suddenly remembering it with speed and fervor and emotion. And it's powerful. It's a powerful experience to go through the very end of it.
Totally. I don't even have anything to add to that. It's just, I totally agree.
Yeah. Also, in the beginning of there is one thing about this episode that, like, I want to talk to you to decide how I care about it, because I think maybe I don't like it, but maybe in the conversation we can find out
I know
more about it.
I have a feeling I'm gonna know, but we can discuss it.
Oh, tell me about it.
Is it what happens to Clementine?
Sort of. It's not what happens to Clementine. It's there's a lot of fake outs about what happens to Clementine. And it's the fake outs that I don't care for.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the episode now. Here's we'll just say it, because you're in the spoiler territory now, as you are every single episode. I don't know why this would be different.
You're in the spoiler zone now.
In the beginning of the episode, AJ does the narration.
Yeah. Where
Clementine has always done the narration.
Yeah, that was cool.
Lee did it season 1, but now it's Clementine, and that signals, I think, the trading out of the main character from Clementine to AJ. And the last time we saw that in a major way was when we went from Lee to Clementine when Lee died. Right. And through this episode, Clementine keeps getting put into precarious situations, and it's like, nah,
just kidding.
Until it really culminates and comes to a head where she is in a dreadful position, where her leg has been carved up and she has been bitten. And she's like surrounded by walkers in a barn, and AJ's just there like barely keeping it together, barricading the walls and stuff. And her skin gets all walker yellow. Her eyes cloud up. She's got those jaundiced eyes look that
She got them
all
eye
the walkers
bags.
have. Lee looked exactly the same when he was going to become a walker.
Yeah.
And then she she can have AJ choose to either leave her or to kill her. Up to the player, which is kind of the same as it's exactly the same really as Lee's position at the end of season 1.
Yeah.
I told AJ to kill her.
Same.
Yeah, so I wonder what happens if you tell him to leave her. I don't know. But if
I don't
tell
either.
him,
I did not look into it.
I imagine a similar kind of thing happens though, and it's not a real choice.
Okay.
That's my guess, because if you tell AJ to kill her, he raises the axe as if he's going to, and like with AJ doing the narration at the beginning, with the poetry between Lee dying in season 1 and Clem dying here, and the fact that she is already like way far gone, the whole game is signaling like she's gonna die, and then there's like a flashback sequence after that is slightly unrelated to her life and death, but then you see AJ by himself and you're playing as AJ in like a weeks later scenario. You're out catching fish or something. For me, it was catching fish. I wonder if it was hunting, if you did hunting earlier.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, you may or may not see a character at this point. And then like you walk into camp and you're kind of like melancholy the whole time as if Clem's dead, and then Clem comes out and it turns out what AJ did was he cut off her leg at the wound, and for some reason where like other people amputated much earlier in the infection process than Clem did, but Clem survived somehow, just is missing a foot.
Right.
I guess you could say Clem's all right.
You know what? That Clementine kid's all right.
Because she's missing her left foot.
That's so funny. That's so fucking funny you would say that.
Hey, thanks, man. Yeah. So like a ton of fake outs, a lot of just teasing. I don't know how I feel about that so much.
I was a little I wasn't sure. I was conflicted because on one hand, like by all intents and purposes, she should be dead. I
don't mind that she should be dead and isn't exactly, because like we've seen close calls before.
Right.
And that kind of stuff can happen. That's okay.
Right.
I think just that the narrative, like it really wants you to believe she's dead and then be like, no, she's fine. Yeah. Like that is a little like verges on a little disrespectful, maybe.
I think maybe, but I don't know. I was happy to see her alive. I was happy to see her alive. How mad can I be? It's one of those things where I totally get you, but Clem's alive, and it ends on like maybe the only happy ending ever in this series. So I can't be too upset.
Well, it's sort of a happy ending. I mean, like it's happier than it could have been. For sure,
it's about as happy as it's gonna get in The Walking Dead up to this point.
Yeah, so there is a lot that happens in this episode up to that point, but I feel like that was just going to be part of the conversation the whole time if we didn't get it out of the way first. Like, Clem is alive, AJ is alive.
Right.
And I think that happens no matter what. I don't think you can kill Clem or AJ. It's not possible.
I'll have to look into... I would doubt you could... I don't know, maybe Clem can die if you tell AJ to leave. I would have to look into it, but...
There's also the real world knowledge that we have that probably we shouldn't have had at this time, which is that there's Clementine comics that take place after this.
So I looked into these comics. My sister, as soon as we finished, my sister bought a copy of it.
Yeah.
And then I looked into it, and absolutely everyone hates it. And from the sound of it,
about that potential, and it seems like that would have been hard to avoid.
I don't. It seems like they didn't try to.
Oh, okay.
Like, do you want to know
Sure.
the general? I don't know if you have plans to read it.
I might, but I mean, it's good to talk about it for this episode for the podcast.
I mean, I only read like the synopsis and what someone was saying for like the first part of it.
Okay, well then, yeah, that's fair game. We can talk about that.
So the ending of this episode, very cool, very heartwarming in its own weird, twisted way. Clem and AJ have found this group that they like and are safe for now, and people are happy. This comic starts with Clem saying, "I hate it here, and I hate AJ, and I'm leaving."
Yeah,
not exactly
you
that.
You
just can't do that. That's like like Clementine specifically says to AJ, "I will never leave you," and then in the comics he says, "So goodbye forever." Isn't that so fucked? I haven't even read it. Maybe I'm just going off of what other people have said, but that I think feels very disrespectful to me.
Well, the idea that like in the future there could be something that really drives Clem and AJ apart is a little compelling, but it's not the beginning of the first issue, it's the end of the last issue, right? Like you don't have the power to do that. And you can't just say that's how things have gone.
Right.
Yeah. Is there any writing contribution from like the Still Not Bitten team on the comic?
I don't think so. I've just seen people giving their opinions on it, and they've just
who wrote it.
I don't know their name. I just know whoever the people voicing their opinions said that they ruined Clementine's character.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to go too far into this.
Yeah,
but,
it sounds like the kind of thing where I probably will not bother with it. It does not sound like something I will enjoy.
Yeah, so Clementine Lives is the name of the comic, right?
So that's apparently like a connecting thing that connects that it happens between this last season and the graphic novels.
Oh, so Clementine Lives could have been the story of how AJ and her fell apart. I mean, I guess maybe who's to say? It says creator writer Tilly Walden, not a name I remember hearing it Telltale.
Yeah,
no, I think not. They're younger than me. Wow.
Huh.
I guess I'm no spring chicken anymore. That's possible. And then also, and then the Clementine graphic novel series, which is a trilogy, is also written by Tilly Walden. So this is Tilly Walden's adventure, I guess.
Right. And I'll just say I haven't read it. I can't speak for I'm only going off of what I've heard.
Sure. Yeah. Nothing against Tilly Walden necessarily, I guess, but like we don't. Yeah. This
I just feel like I'm
another creator taking on the story, which is totally fine. But I think that given that circumstance, we can sort of safely consider this game the end of her, at least one interpretation of the canon of her story, if you so wanted to do so.
Yeah, I think as far as I'm concerned, I'm good with this.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
I have a little
Sorry
something
about
else.
Everything.
I have a little something else to say about the scene with AJ cutting off her leg, but I'll save it for a little later. I feel like we should kind of get into the rest of the episode first.
It does. Are you going to talk about the cut to black thing?
No.
Okay. Then yeah, sure. Yeah. Don't want to preempt it, but I thought, yeah.
Can I start out?
Yep.
So the actress who plays Violet in this game, Gideon Adlin, I looked her up because she kills it. I feel like this episode in particular, I was just like, every line from Violet sounds so natural. She just does like an amazing job. And like I use the website Behind the Voice Actors just to see like all the roles an actor has done. And so this might not be accurate, but it looked like Violet was like her first voice role.
Whoa.
That's crazy to me. And she just comes in and knocks it out of the park.
Good job.
Crazy.
Yeah. Okay. So the beginning of this episode is immediately going to have a pretty big difference between your version and my version.
Yeah.
Because I allowed AJ to kill Lily.
Mm-hmm.
And that does succeed in killing Lily right there. In fact, I wrote down my first note in this episode is, wow, Lily's body has a lot of bullet holes. Like a lot. Like a lot.
AJ, you didn't need to go that hard.
Yeah, AJ, 2 is fine. 1 for aim, 2
to be safe.
Confirm, move on. You emptied a whole clip. In fact, there's a line that I'm sure you don't have because James, who has died for you, says, AJ emptied a whole clip in... Did you see that body? And AJ looks at James and he's indignant about it and he says, it was only half a clip.
AJ rules. I think AJ's such a good character.
I had a few moments with AJ in this episode, not in a way that I thought were like bad characterization, but in a way that like I was scared and frustrated for this kid.
Right.
In a way that I wonder if you might... I'm sure you had something, but it's going to be different. So you tell me, how does it go? Lily's alive, James is dead.
Right.
How's that go?
I mean, that's about it, really. We escape off the ship. There's the big action sequence where you're trying to get off. You kill people. Are you
still with Lily, though?
She runs off.
She's just gone?
Yeah, she's just gone. She, like, got away in the explosion.
Does she come back later in the episode?
You see her escaping on, like, the raft full of supplies.
And that's it?
You talk to her. You have a scene with her.
Oh, okay. How does that go?
It made me laugh because she's being a real rude duck about it.
Yeah, she's not good.
No, she's not nice. And she's saying like, you couldn't do it. You said we were family before. I guess that's why you couldn't kill me. And so she was leaving, and Clementine was like, "You get out of here, and if I ever see you again, I will kill you." And it's so funny. AJ chimes in. He says, "I hope you get bitten out there." And you see her face. She's like, "Whoa. Oh my God. He really said that to me?" It's so funny how it gets to her. She's like really
that's
hurt
crazy
by
for her to be emotional about that. That's insane.
I know. It was very it was so fun. Both my sister and I were like, oh okay, okay. That really stung.
So
and she doesn't come back after that. She doesn't get like a punishment. She just gets away.
Yeah, I guess what I'm curious about then is, for me, like you there's like an action sequence of quick time events of like the boat falling apart and you getting off the boat and then you running away through a crowd of walkers. And then eventually the next big set piece you get to is a narrow cave. And it's the shortcut that like you can kind of go through without having to worry about walkers. Fastest way back to the school is through this
until
narrow
the
cave.
walkers get through.
Then the walkers do get through, but like there's a river going through the cave that is moving fast enough to swift off the walkers. So
it ends up being okay.
It's a pretty all right way to go. But for me, James is with me the whole time. It's Clementine, James, and 10 is with us.
Yeah.
Yes, 10 is with us too.
Yeah, 10 was with me as well.
Yeah, Lewis,
the others all escaped.
Asim and Omar, they're gone. Lewis has his tongue cut out for us, which is rough.
Yeah. Not good at eating.
Violet has also found those folks and moved on and tried to get back.
Mm-hmm.
So in this cave, it's 10, Clementine, AJ, and I have James. And there is a very, very tense confrontation as soon as they're kind of like safe past the river, where James grabs AJ, puts him at knife point, and tries to shuttle him away.
Oh my god.
And says, what you let AJ do on that boat was unethical murder.
It was not very cool.
It was certainly not very cool. And you've set AJ up to be this devastating monster. And I'm not going to let you do it. I'm taking AJ. We're going to learn to live a much more peaceful life. I don't trust you with this child.
Wow.
I'm taking the kid.
That's crazy.
And yeah, and I imagine there's a lot of ways that this conversation can go, but for me, I had to be, as Clementine, I just tried to talk him down. Like, James, this is crazy. We just fought against child abductors. Don't think I'm not going to fight against you abducting my child right now.
Yeah.
He is not yours to raise. I understand your complaints about this, but
yeah. I just killed Lily, so you should, or AJ, I just had AJ kill Lily, so you should believe that you are not, I am not above doing that here.
Well, AJ's like screaming as James is trying to take him away, and he's like, I'll kill you when you go to sleep immediately.
What?
I will do it. And James is like, well, clearly he's messed up. He's saying that. And I did have to admit that he had a pretty good point.
Yeah, that is pretty fucked.
It's a little damning.
Yeah.
And then so at one point, like, Clementine and James get in a bit of a shouting match, and then the tension is broken by AJ saying, "Hey, stop talking about me. Let me talk about myself." And what AJ decides to say, and I've written it down, is, I liked it. I don't care if it was murder. I don't care if it was anything. It felt good.
Jesus fucking Christ.
She hurt us, so I had to stop that from happening.
Oh my god. That's horrific.
Yeah, James felt like the animation on James's face was like really disappointed, but Clementine was rattled by that. She couldn't believe that he said that.
Right. I can imagine.
Yeah.
You know what? Hearing you say this makes me feel a lot better. I felt very bad about the choice I made, but hearing what you went through, that has me like, I am so glad I avoided that with AJ.
Well, this has like a running... It resolves in this episode in a way that I think is... It doesn't quite put AJ into a position where, like, I'll never kill again or anything like that. Mm-hmm. It does not do that. AJ is still... He's been a little radicalized. He's been a little soldierized.
He's bloodthirsty.
I don't know about bloodthirsty, but like he won't hesitate to kill to protect someone he loves, or for the greater good of survival, or something like that.
So that's exactly where he ends up for me as well. And I'm just going off of what I'm hearing. I don't want to take the high road, but I will say I do think I enjoy the way it played out for me a little better. It's hard for me to say without saying
your choices did that, so that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. I felt a little better about it just because I felt so bad about not letting him kill Lily before. I was like, oh man, I probably should have let him do that. James would probably still be here.
I mean, that's kind of how I feel of, like, I know that James would be dead. So right. I was, like, it was factually correct to kill Lily in that situation because James would be dead. AJ knew to make a hard call that, like, even if he doesn't understand it now, I hope that as he grows older, he might have more emotional intelligence to unpack this moment and I'm sure it will be a bit scarring, but it was an important time to save the people that he loved.
Right.
Um,
I
but
don't like hearing him say, I liked it.
I think okay, well, so that wasn't really the end of the moment. So
Okay.
like, AJ says that, and then like James throws up his arms, and he's kind of like, maybe the damage is already done. Do whatever you want, and
Right.
he's just very disappointed. He resigns himself. Clementine and AJ have a heart to heart after that point, and you get the point. You get the feeling that AJ might have been saying that in a tactful kind of way to get James to quit it.
Okay.
A little bit. Not like all the way, but there's some of that in there.
There's a little bit of a wink.
Yeah. And AJ then says basically what we've been saying, like, look, if we let her live, we continue to live in fear that she'd be back for us at any time because she expressed that is exactly what she would do.
Right.
We have to take her word for it. Like, this is AJ saying that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you need to let me be able to make those choices for myself. I think that I've proven myself.
Mm-hmm.
Does he ask that for you? Like being able to make choices for himself?
Yes.
Okay.
That specifically, yes, but the circumstances...
But in a different time?
Yeah, the circumstances are a little different.
Well, I do want to hear about that, but like just as a result of that for me, I had Clementine say, look, it's not that I don't trust you to be a good person, but I can't trust you to have the experience to know how these things are all going to play out.
Right.
So no, AJ, like I can't let you just make calls of who you're going to kill and not. I don't think you're ready for that. And he was very upset about that, but he dropped all the bloodthirsty talk after that. I think he was thoroughly humbled in that moment.
Interesting. That's very interesting.
Yeah, okay. So it played out differently for you.
Yeah, well, obviously James was not there.
Okay, yep. Was
it
still in the cave when that conversation happened?
We did go to the cave, but it was just Clementine, AJ, and 10.
Okay.
And, but James does join you a little later as a walker.
What? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's pretty upsetting.
Cool.
Yeah, AJ has this very sad conversation about, I looked into his eyes and there was nothing. There is nothing. After when you're a walker, that's it. He was wrong.
That's funny that it took seeing James specifically, but like all the other walkers are kind of proof of that already, right?
Right. Yeah. I've never been on board with James's whole save the walkers plan.
No, yeah, it doesn't seem feasible.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
But so when you get across the river, it basically plays out the same. You get away from the walkers, you cross the log to the other side. But AJ is pretty upset, and he's upset at Clementine because she stopped him from killing Lily.
He wanted to. Clem told him not to for you, and so he didn't.
And he's upset as a result, because now
James died.
Yeah,
yeah.
And he's specifically upset because James is dead now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and he says, like, you need to trust me to make my own decisions. I know you want what's best for me, and you're great, but you're not always right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that also comes up, that line of arguing also comes up.
Yeah, and it is hard to argue. I feel like I did make a bad call there, and AJ is calling me out on it. So yeah, he's saying you need to trust me, and I said I do trust you. He said I know when to kill someone. I know when someone is not a threat and when they are, and you have to trust me to make the right hard calls. And so you said you did not give him that trust.
I didn't give him that
And
trust,
I
and
think
I definitely regret it later in the episode. But I also think that like it was just very hard. I
well,
felt that feeling that a parent might feel, where like, look, so long as I am alive and with you, let me tell you not to kill someone.
yeah, no, I totally
um,
agree with you. I think given
yeah,
like the circumstances in your playthrough, that like that response totally makes sense. The way AJ was talking, I would not trust. I would say you are not in a good place to be trusted with this right now. But for me, he was showing some like emotional growth. He was showing like he was saying like uh I know Marlon was not a threat when I killed him, and that really sucked. I really regret it. Lily was a threat, and I should have. I know when a monster should be killed now. I
yeah.
and I totally agreed. I was like, you've seen enough that I feel like you would know.
Yeah, yeah. I think that the smart thing about this is that AJ just is in this very borderline position where he is moral but undereducated.
Yeah,
And based on what you see, you're going to react differently. Although he is this complete person, you never have a complete person's experience in your mind's eye. You only have their a subset of their actions that you were there for to observe.
right.
So you just feel differently at different times. I will say, based on how the rest of this episode went, I do regret not giving him a little more agency.
Yeah, I can
To
imagine.
yeah, yeah,
I read about what happens if you do not.
yeah. So it comes up pretty quickly. Actually, you get out of the cave. You go through a little bit of forest. There's some walkers. You move past them. You find a bridge, and at this point, Violet catches up with us. I bet it would be Lewis if it were Lewis.
Right.
If you were a Clementine and Lewis shipper. But we are Violet shippers here on this podcast. In this house, we're Violet shippers.
I just feel like Violet's just so good a character. I like Violet a lot. I would feel very bad.
I like them both. I like them both
do
a lot.
like.
It was,
Don't let me sound like I dislike Lewis. I just feel like, you know, like with her voice performance and like her character, I just feel is very strong. I feel like it's an easy choice for me, even though I do like Lewis as well.
I think that I made a Violet decision early on, like in episode 1. I don't even remember which one it was. And then just from that point, it just always made sense to pick Violet. So
Right.
I've had all these Violet experiences. But it really could have easily been Lewis. If I just didn't have that one starting point, crystallization point.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so Violet catches up. So now... and James stayed in the cave to defend us from a line of walkers that were coming while we got away.
Okay.
And he like takes his knives out to be like, I guess this is a murder world. And I guess my ideology was naive and
Get over it, man.
he's like clearly disappointed in himself and his surroundings and everyone around him and the world, just like having a bad time. But that's the last time you see James for me.
Is it safe to assume he did not make it out of that cave?
No, I think it's safe to assume he actually did, but he had to kill a lot of walkers, which is in order to do it. You know, he doesn't like doing that. He like holds the line back for you, and because he's not gonna get killed by walkers. It's James. You know, he's
this
got
is
the
James
mask. He's
we're
got
talking
whatever.
about.
He's got the skills to deal with it.
Right.
Like he can get through walkers, but he's just killing them in order to let Clem get away, and he hates himself for it.
Right.
But I just can't feel bad for James.
It's so hard to care.
It is hard. I would care if he died. I don't care about his faith.
His
at
whole
this
Walker
point.
thing, yeah.
Yeah. But so you get to this bridge though, and Minnie shows up.
Yeah, and we do see her earlier before this.
Yeah, so right. Well, she was on the boat, and then she got off the boat. Then she was fighting a bunch of walkers, and
you see her get bit in the face. I'm
pretty sure that always happens, right? Like she just does die to walker
very
bites in that
hard to look at.
But she's not killed outright.
No,
she's like advanced turning. She's very close to being a full walker, but she can talk She's got some of her own drive. She's, I think, pretty close to what James was describing as his ideal walker, of like a walker that's got the personality in him or her still.
If that's his ideal walker, then no thank you.
Yeah. So she's coming, and 10, being her little brother, is overjoyed to see her, but like, she's mostly walker now, and she's trying to get 10. She's trying to like bite him so they can just die together.
Right.
Or be walkers together. And 10 is at this point pretty convincible of that notion.
This kid, man. 10, I love you, but every time with this.
I mean, honestly, this is only the one time where I could really fault 10. And I understand it. Like, this one I get. I am a lot more amicable. I'm a lot more friendly to what 10's doing than what James was doing, for sure.
Right. No, yeah.
Yeah. But
too trusting.
10 needs to be like held back.
Yeah.
Because he tries to run to Minnie, who's definitely gonna like bite him and destroy him.
Yeah, she wants to kill him. She's like straight up like, I will kill you, and then we can both die together, and it'll be fine.
Yeah, but 10 hasn't seen his sister in years, so like this is big. This is a big moment. Violet holds 10 back. AJ and Clem get to the other side of the bridge, and AJ, or what in doing at some point along the way, Clem's foot gets cut up. It's here where it happens.
Yeah,
and
Minnie
she's like
slices
sort of
her leg.
Yeah, she like with an axe.
She
just down
really,
the side of
she
her
just really
ankle.
sucks and takes a long time to die.
I like her character a lot. She's just like very. You get very mad at Minnie.
Yeah, they do a great job with her, but I do not like her.
I don't like her as a person. I like her character a lot.
No, they do a great job with her.
Yeah, but like Clem's taken out of commission, so AJ's now got this gun up, and I bet this happened very differently for you. But AJ's shouting, "Violet, let go of him. You're gonna die too."
Mm-hmm.
And he's got this gun up, and it looks like he could kill either Minnie or 10, and then Violet would have to go if 10 died, or Violet.
Right.
And then 10 could go to Minnie if Violet was shot. So, what does he do for you?
Do you want me to say before you say yours?
Yeah.
He shot 10 in the neck.
Oh, wow. And 10 dies right there.
10 dies right there.
What's Violet do?
So at first she's very upset, like, understandably. Yep. But AJ backs up his decision. He says, if he was going to get you killed too, I did not like doing that at all. 10 was my first real friend. I did this to save your life. And so after that, I think that's another thing about Violet. Like, I feel like anyone else, any other season, Violet would have been so pissed at him like the whole time. She would have been like, you little fucker, I'll never forgive you for this. Violet just gets it. She just immediately is like, you were put in a bad decision and had to do what you had to do. I get it. Yeah. Let's go. And so unfortunately 10 dies right there.
So AJ, because when I told AJ earlier that I don't trust you to make your own decisions about this, a UI prompt comes up on screen and says, AJ seeks your approval beyond all else.
It said that for me as well.
You've shaken his confidence in himself.
Ooh, for me it said, you have helped build AJ's confidence, or something to that effect. It said, like, AJ feels more confident in himself.
Mine says, you've shaken his confidence in himself, and frankly, at that moment, after what he had talked about, even if it was posturing just to James, I felt like, yeah, it's probably healthy for a little kid to not feel like they know everything because they don't know everything. So
Right.
that doesn't feel that bad. I mean, like it's gonna feel bad for AJ, but that there is a healthy amount of self-doubt to have
Mm-hmm.
in the world. Like self-doubt's not always a terrible thing.
Yeah, you weren't counting on that coming into play like right after, were you?
I thought maybe one more scene and then it would sandwich that, but no, it's just boom boom right away.
Whoops.
Yeah. Um I guess it is the end of the story. We got to kind of get to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But because his confidence is shaking himself, he can't bring himself to pull the trigger at all.
Yeah.
So
I imagine.
What happens is that 10 gets really close to Minnie, and then Violet like throws herself on Minnie, and then 10 sees Violet get brutally murdered by these
Jesus.
walkers. And this is terrible for we love Violet, and
Yeah.
Clem sees this and it's awful. But 10 does get away.
Okay.
So 10 is alive and Violet isn't.
So 10 is
me.
alive for you, Violet is alive for me.
Yeah. At this point, they get separated by a fence. I think 10 goes over a fence. I assume Violet does too for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember why they did that. It seems like a weird choice, but it gets to the point where it is just AJ and Clem, and they eventually find a barn. And Clem's been bitten on her open foot wound and is not good. And then
it's when you're trying to push him up the cliff to get away from the walkers. Yeah, that's not like what you want to have happen in zombies.
No,
that's like the one thing you don't want.
Yeah, the zombies were too hard, actually.
Hey, to be fair, I guess they were too hard for me too. I didn't stop them from biting.
Yeah, it is interesting in a game like this what needs to be static and what can be dynamic, because that 10 interaction can happen a bunch of different ways based on how the end of the game goes.
Mm-hmm.
And it tells you like the choices. It looks like there's 4 different states that can end up like.
Oh, really?
It looked like there was in the choices. Like one of them was a picture of a Walker 10. One of them was a picture of 10 just dead, which I don't know what the distinction there would be. And in that one, well, like if AJ shoots 10, 10's dead, but if 10 gets away somehow, then he becomes a walker.
Well, let me just stop you right there, because so for me, AJ shot 10 in the neck, but he does show up as a walker
in the
later.
neck. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he doesn't.
He
shoot
shows
him
up
in
as
the
a
head.
walker later.
Yeah.
Oh, when?
After the cut, after when AJ's fishing.
He shows up as a walker then? Oh, that's wild.
Did that not happen for you?
He shows up, but as just a guy.
Oh yeah, that's right, because he would be alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me,
wow.
So yeah, AJ sees him, and he's like, "Oh man, that fucking sucks so bad." I'm not gonna tell anyone about this. I don't need them to know. And you have the option to either shoot him or just lead him away. You know, do the thing where you throw the rock and then they go to the sound.
Mm.
And I just let him away. I was like, I don't want to do a gunshot and cause noise and lead more over here.
Wow, that's a little bit like finally buying into James's ideology of like.
Well, no,
not
because
wanting to hurt this walker. Well, I guess yours was a much more practical reason.
Yeah, remember what
not
I
just
said
wanting to
before.
hurt him.
It just seems like a good idea in general, if it can be helped.
Yeah, for me, after 10 crosses that gate, I guess they're separated for a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And when AJ's fishing, in that fishing scene, Ruby smells him, the dog, or Rosie. Shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say Ruby smells him. That's strange.
No, it's Rosie.
You made the one mistake you couldn't have.
Yeah. Their names are too similar. They're
I
too
get
similar.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Rosie smells him, and then AJ's like, "Whoa, it's 10." And
Oh my god.
My word.
Good heavens.
Oh heavens. He's 10 explains, like, after I saw that my moment of weakness led Violet to her death, I just didn't want to come back for a while, but I thought about it, and I also got really hungry. So I think I gotta own up to it. And
that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and then 10 actually has this moment where, like, he goes, I think I've been really naive about how the world works.
Oh, yeah, you think so?
And you haven't been, AJ. I think that you have an understanding of things that I don't. So will you teach me how to, like, be like you?
That's cool. That's a cool little scene.
Yeah, and AJ has the choice there to say, like, you don't want to be like me, or yeah, I'll teach you what I know. And I told him I'll teach him what I know.
Yeah, I think it's stuff that he should know. Like,
yeah,
even
so
if AJ's kind of
camp,
in a weird spot, like, just being able to survive, I think is good information.
Well, when we go back to the camp, AJ immediately takes 10 aside and he's like, so one of the first most important things to know is how to fire a gun. So you're going to do target practice on the target with this gun. Get good. And
go get him, champ.
AJ's clearly not used to being a teacher. But it's endearing to have 10 come back and like, really, this is a very deep moment for their friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's right before you see Clementine again too.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't regret saving Violet, but boy, I wish I could have saved both. I've always really liked 10.
Yeah,
very hard scene.
I really wanted to save Violet. I really wish that AJ could have made that choice. Not to say that it's bad to have 10 either, because, like, I respect 10 as AJ's only friend, and that's important. But Violet was trying to save people, and 10 was just getting into trouble in that moment.
Exactly,
and it just didn't. It wasn't fair. It wasn't fair to Clementine either. Like, I really felt like Violet and Clementine, regardless of what comics say, could have spent their life togetger.
Oh, and totally.
It just didn't work out in my game.
Yeah, that sucks. I really feel like, I don't want to say I made the right call and you didn't, but I am glad that things played out the way they did for me.
Yeah, I don't
as much
regret
as I like
my calls 10. Exactly, but like it's a bad hand we've been dealt. Like, I'm still okay with AJ being allowed to shoot Lily, because I still think that's just the safer option. Like, just because she was not a threat in that moment does not mean she was not overall still a threat.
Right.
And also, I don't really feel bad telling AJ that he can't just have free range on murder, and that I trust him for everything, including shooting people. So, like, yeah, I don't know. I still hold him, but it's just tragic. It's just a tragic story.
I feel like it really says a lot about the writing that we can have such nuanced opinions about the way things went down. Because, like, I do regret not killing Lily, but at the same time, I also feel like, you know, hearing the way it went down for you, I do think maybe, at least just going off of what I've seen, I feel like I might have felt a little stronger about how it went down for me.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. Like, I think that you regretting not killing Lily just... I don't want to say that regret is just the way to feel, but it is kind of like you immediately see her kill someone after that. So it's kind of like, well, if your goal was preserving life, then
You sure
no,
didn't.
you do have to kill Lily. But
Yeah.
and I regret telling AJ that he shouldn't trust himself because he was on his own in that moment, and Violet died because of it.
Yeah,
It's
but at the
still
same
like,
time, it
yeah,
makes complete sense that you would say that in that specific scenario. Like
yeah. I think,
it makes more sense for that. And same with me. I feel like with the conversation I had with AJ in that cave, I did believe that he knew. I believed like he had that emotional growth to know when someone should be killed and when someone shouldn't. He says, "Yeah, I know what I
mhm,
did with Marlon. That was really bad. He was not a threat, but Lily was. I should
yeah,
have killed her there."
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
Um,
it's just very interesting the way it goes down.
so we can talk a little bit more about this barn scene too, because I think this is
Mm-hmm.
sort of the pivotal scene of this episode.
Yeah,
It's just AJ and Clementine in a bar, and as Clementine, you are like limping hard because your foot is really
your
trashed.
leg
It's
not doing so good.
there's so many bones not doing their job in that foot,
Right.
and you're just like walking toward the door of this barn, going very very slowly, and AJ's running ahead of you. And then you stumble. AJ is coming back for you, picks you up, and as soon as you cross the threshold of this barn door, um, Clementine looks over to this pitchfork to use to like lock the two doors together,
Right.
and you're given like the button prompt to go grab it, and in grabbing it, she like falls and doesn't reach it, and then AJ grabs it, which is phenomenal cinematography for like changing the player character. Just
Right.
in that
Totally.
moment, just a very smooth transition. She fails to grab it, AJ grabs it, and then at that point you're walking around as AJ. Clementine is in the corner
Yeah.
of the room, just sort of contemplating the end of her existence, I guess. Yeah. Uh, at first you give Clementine a gun and she's like shooting walkers as they're coming in, helping provide cover for AJ as he like bolts down all the doors together.
Mm-hmm.
But then she stops being able to do that too, and he has to do all of it together. And he's really proving himself in this moment, and it's sad and sweet and melancholy. You're sure Clementine's gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this already. She doesn't. She doesn't die.
Yeah.
He is able to amputate her leg just below the knee and prevent the spreading of the infection any more than it already has been. Even though her eyes have gone yellow, which means it's gone up to her eyes. So,
Right.
too late, right?
This is what I was so conflicted about, because I feel like up to now, it just seemed like everything you've been taught, this should not work. She is like at the end and she should die, and I'm really glad she doesn't, but like I wasn't quite sure if I really could buy into it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I felt like if she did die here, if AJ just killed her, I feel like I would like that a lot less, because A, it would be such a downer ending, but B, it would just be a retread of the ending of season 1.
Yeah, I wouldn't say anything additional. Like, I agree that this is a better ending. I just think that my complaint is not with the fact that Clementine lives
Right.
at all. It is the repeated fake outs at her not living.
I don't mind that so much. I feel like our complaints are on different things, but I
That's
can
fair,
totally
yeah.
I can totally see where you're coming from as well. But the thing that kind of eased it for me, and this felt a lot like damage control. I was looking it up on Reddit afterwards because I was like, how did she survive this? This seems like she really shouldn't have, and she did. And I'm glad I looked it up, because it turns out one of the writers of the season, what I forget his first name already. M. Kirkbride, was it like Mark or Mike? Michael Kirkbride. Yeah. So he made a Reddit post in character as AJ.
Oh, okay. All right. How did it go?
It says, How I Protected Clem by Alvin Jr., and protected is spelt with a K.
Good.
Yeah. So he's putting in the work to make it seem like AJ wrote like a little journal thing. And do you want me to just read it all? It's a little long.
This is great for a podcast.
Yeah. Okay, so it says, so I decide I'm not gonna do it, no matter what she says. Clem's just wrong about this. She screams and passes out when the axe hits her leg. It might be bad to say it, but I was real glad she did because it takes a few more chops to get her leg off, and I don't want her to be mad at me.
Oh. Okay.
I know I gotta make fire to seal up the wound, so he doesn't know the right word to use. Luckily, we got the flint from that cave and haze like everywhere. I make a small fire and heat up the blade, then I push it on the bloody part, and it smells like cooking and it's totally gross, so don't tell her. I check Clem's forehead and she's not cold yet, and I start crying again, but tell myself to stop because I got more work to do. I use some of the rope to tie around her chopped off leg because that's kind of how Abel did it. So he's talking about,
yeah.
I guess the canon thing is that you did push him into the walkers.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, so you have seen that it can work. And I don't have a roll of tape like it at James' log.
Wait, what?
I think he's talking about like when he bandaged him up from his gunshot wounds.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The easiest part was the monsters, actually. With like an exclamation point. He's very excited about this. I used the wheelbarrow to reach them and just stabbed them through the heads. There was a lot, but I did it fast because they're dumb and just came to me.
That's pretty good.
AJ, I love this guy. It's so gratifying to have, like, we talked about it before, but how AJ is just not a character before this season. And then this season comes around and just immediately endears you to him. You know, there's circumstances. It's more complicated, I think, with him than it is with Clementine in season 1, where she's just, you know, oh so cutie adorable. Here, there's a little more. I'll get back to it. I used the wheelbarrow again and got Clem in it. Took forever because I'm not big and I'm so tired. I throw guts all over her and check her head again, and it's still warm, and there's no monsters when I open the barn doors, and that's good because it's a real long way to push all this to the school. But Clem did it for me when I got shot, and I'm just going to do the same thing because she always believes in me, and that's why I do too. And that's the end.
Okay, it does not touch on, I think, the foundational question of she was already clearly full body infected.
Well, I don't know. It's such a, like, I really just have to wonder if, I guess I'm just at a loss.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I think
he does
that's
cotter the
kinda
wound.
just,
He does seal up the wound.
That's kind of just
so
something we're going to have to take. Sealing up the wound is not the problem. Like, the infection just is already in her head, which is what we would be protecting against with the amputation were we to get it early enough. If this is just a freak of nature and it worked out, that's okay. But, like, I think it is worth noting that the odds of this are completely against them in a huge way.
Right. But like I said, if she just died from this, I would hate this ending. If it were a more realistic ending that's more logical and I can buy it, it would suck. I would hate it. It would, like I said, a retread of season 1's ending, and you just feel bad.
I think there's a middle ground. I think there's a method that they could potentially have gone. Like,
do you want to know how I would have done it?
They made her face and eyes yellow because Lee's went that way, right?
Right.
And I think that was probably a little indulgent, because if they wanted her to come back from this, I think that doing that, like, that is an indication the virus, the disease, whatever it is, has gotten to that part of the body. So, like, they wanted to do the callback to Lee, but I think in doing so, they limited their realistic options a little bit. So maybe, like, even just not doing that, like the colorization thing, probably would have helped it go down a lot smoother.
Yeah, I agree. It's just one of those cases where I feel like the season's just been really good. I love the series as a whole. I can just kind of turn a blind eye to this one thing.
Yeah, I can too, but
It's a little silly. It's worth
we're
talking
on
about.
a podcast.
Yeah, no, it's
Like,
totally
let's
worth
get it out
talking
while
about.
we can.
Yeah, it's worth talking about. And at the time, I was like, I don't know if I like this. I felt like I mean I like it. I like that she's here, but it does feel maybe not quite earned. But I don't know. I'm just like who cares? They've done such a great job.
Yeah, so when AJ swings the axe down, you don't see what it hits, and then it cuts to black, and it raises up, and Clementine is having like a flashback or a dream sequence or something. And
Well, I don't know if it necessarily needs to be her. It might just be showing us the player what happened at the ranch. I don't know if it has to be her like having a flashback or anything. It might just be showing us this earlier scene.
Yeah, I think I don't think it's her having a flashback. I think it is a flashback.
It's a flashback in the narrative, but I don't think it's like her like dreaming it or anything.
Well, I kind of leaned that way because some of the visual effects were very dreamy. Like at first it's just like a lot of like orange lights coming together, and then they sort of build into the leaves of the trees around this fort that she's invaded. It looks dreamy, but like it is surely like what actually happened.
Yeah.
This is, I think it is immediately after season 3, right? Like this is
this is her finding
Javi.
where AJ is.
Yeah, Clementine leaves Javi to find where they put AJ, and it is during an absolute raid on this Fort McCarroll.
Yeah.
And they don't do much explaining here. They don't say whether or not like this raid is about AJ. Maybe Clementine set this up, or this is just a completely different fight they're having on the off side.
Mm-hmm.
They leave that to your imagination. All you are doing is you just are so laser focused on finding AJ in this fort, which is a fort, by the way, and not a ranch. Which is what they've been alluding to this whole season, like back on the ranch.
Right.
So not sure if this is supposed to be that or not.
I mean, I think that's supposed to be it would be so weird to have it not be what they were talking about. If it was like an unrelated incident, that would be very weird.
Fair, but
maybe they just call it the ranch. I don't know. Maybe AJ called it a ranch and Clem just went with it or something.
That's a good headcanon, I guess. I mean, like it is just not a ranch.
Yeah, it's not really important, but
it isn't important. But like, I feel like it could have been. It could have been made to be a ranch, and they made it a fort. They made it like an old, looks like a remnant of a World War II fort,
right?
Or not World War II, Civil War, American Civil War.
Yeah.
You find AJ in there. You have to kill people, maybe innocent people who have been looking after the babies. Who's hard to know.
Yeah, Clem just has to do it. It's like, if I don't kill these people, I am not going to get AJ.
Yeah, they might draw the gun on me first, and
they do. Like a lot of them do.
Yeah.
Did you see that guy who was like fucking burned up? Jesus.
Yeah,
he looked like he had lava powers.
Yeah, we got Torkel over here.
Yeah, you see, like, yeah.
He tells AJ to kill her. I did have her, or he tells AJ to kill himself, because he's just in so much pain, and I did have Clem do that. Yeah. Sorry, he tells Clem
to kill him.
Jesus, yeah, to kill himself because
he's lava man
in so much
now.
Pain. Because he has become Torkel. Yes.
Yeah.
And I have Clem do it.
Yeah.
Just seems fine. I'm going to kill other people while I'm here, I'm sure.
That's quite a shot to see in this. I would you say, I kind of feel like it's maybe one of the more brutal bodies we have seen in this whole game. Just this guy like completely burned up.
It's a different kind of horror.
Yeah.
Because, like, we've seen a lot of, like, clawed up things. And, like, in reality, you're
I
not going to
mean,
see very much of
yeah.
that. But, like, burn victims, that's pretty common, pretty real.
Yeah.
So
Like his whole nose has
yeah.
got like half his face is like entirely gone.
Yeah, like half head from Batman.
A lot of yeah. The guy what's half of his head ain't there no more.
Yeah. Yeah, good old one face.
Not two. I cannot stress this enough.
Yeah. Yeah, no, if he had two sides of his face, he'd be regular.
So strange.
One face, we call him. Yeah, there's like there's a nurse woman who's just looking after the babies, probably doing an all right job, but the babies are in cages, and Clem has to kill her to get to AJ too.
That sucked. I felt so bad.
Yeah, and it's like a direct between the eyes headshot too, so like it just doesn't look good. AJ got covered in blood from that, and Clem just takes the car that they have at the beginning of the season. That's how they get it, and takes them away. And it's hard to watch. It's like really devastating. I wonder. I've been thinking about it. It feels right to show us in this moment when Clem's like unconscious, but I'm not exactly positive what they're conveying about what happened in this episode by showing us this moment now. What do you think?
I don't know. I get you. It just felt to me like so Clementine and AJ's relationship has really come to a head with him seemingly killing her. And so I just think they were saving it for this scene to show them reunite and have her talk with AJ saying like it's gonna be okay, we're gonna keep moving forward, just to show like their relationship was strong then and it's strong now, and he has to kill her.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like it's just like you're in this bittersweet moment where you think Clementine's
he has to kill her
dead.
or not, right? Like
right, yeah.
This is maybe evidence that we could use going forward to maybe it's evidence we could use to guess out whether or not he killed her.
Right.
And to show why he would never do that. Because she was really there for him. And
maybe that's
what
it.
What did they
maybe
say in the car?
I think you can choose what to say to him. I told him it's gonna be okay.
I did too. And then I said, remember, never go alone. And
yeah.
He like repeats. He's so young, he can't like talk, but he can repeat her. And he says, never go alone.
Yeah. What a shitty thing to have to say to a kid that young.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good, it's great advice, but boy, it really just hits you like this should not have to be the way things are.
Ooh, yeah. True. So let's talk about just the very, very end.
Okay.
Because this is our podcast, and we
probably should.
We've arrived at that point. Clementine comes out of the school to greet AJ, and he's excited because I guess this is the first time she's been like walking.
Yeah, he's saying, "Oh, you're out of bed. That's great."
And you're using metal stick legs.
That's so
and
cool.
She teaches him the word for crutch.
Yeah. You know what? It's very lucky that he cut below the knee. Now she can get like a cool robot leg.
Yeah. From all the scientists that are alive.
Yeah, we have the utmost foot technology.
Yeah, AJ sort of maybe jokes or maybe earnestly says, like, I'm sure there's a book in the library where they can tell me how to make a new foot.
Yeah, I had Clem say, yeah, find me one of those foot books.
They show the whole gang that is still alive, which for me is Willie, Asim, Omar, Clementine, AJ, now 10, and Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
Just eating dinner. For you, I assume it's the same group except
I had Violet
instead of
yeah.
10. Yeah. Well, for me, there was a very interesting thing that happened there, which was Lewis can't talk, right? But they're all and Ruby. Sorry, Ruby. But they're all eating their dinner, and Lewis passes Clementine a note that just says the word Clementine on it.
Mm-hmm.
And she opens it, and she's like, "You idiot!"
You
in a very
goofy.
flirty way, making me think like
She's over Violet pretty fast.
Well, I mean, it's been weeks,
right?
But maybe my Clementine canonically ends up with Lewis, actually, and they build their relationship from there.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting to have happened, I think.
Yeah, so I got that too, but I think it was just to show, like, obviously for me, she's still with Violet. So for me, I just took it as, we are showing you that Lewis can still communicate with everybody. He uses these notes to talk to people.
I think the way that she hid the note and giggled about it, to me, it read very flirtily, but I mean, if Violet was right there, it wouldn't have been. That's a very contextual flirt.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely feels like a flirt, but it could just be a friend thing.
Well, I'm sure it is for me. I mean, for you, I'm sure I could see it go either way.
It would be weird if, like, the end hint of this episode is Lewis is going to try to split him up.
Yeah, we're not gonna like do that as a season, but no, he is so out.
You should know that it's gonna happen.
Yeah, he will not stop until you two hate each other,
and he'll succeed.
Yeah. Hate to tell you.
Also, 10 found Clementine's hat and gives it to AJ.
That's interesting. So I also get her hat back, but it happens differently.
How's it happen?
So AJ is fishing in the river. He's getting the fish, and he sees Clem's hat just floating down the river, which makes sense because it was lost in the boat attack, so it fell into the river. So he's really struggling. He's trying to catch it with a spear, and he just keeps missing it. He's like, God damn it, I got to get this hat. But you're with Rosie, the dog, who ends up grabbing it out of the water and giving it to you.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I love Rosie. Rosie's so good.
10 says you should wear it when he gives it to AJ, which is, I think, even more manipulation into thinking that Clementine is dead.
Right.
Well, I guess 10 doesn't know, but it's still weird.
Right.
He says you should wear it, and AJ said, I can't. My hair's too big.
That is true. My sister was saying she wished he wore it, and I was just thinking he has too much hair to have a hat, I think.
Yeah, I mean, in real life you can squish it down, but in a computer game model, it's too big.
You better believe they are not going to animate his hair squishing down.
They're not going to floomp it into it. It's
what they could do is the classic Telltale move of cutting away to like maybe 10 watching, and then cut to a model of AJ with the hat on.
Yeah, they could do that.
That is how they do.
AJ tries to give it back to Clem, but I think Clem is done with the hat, which is a metaphor for being done with this arc of Clementine's life.
Right.
Where she's not on the run anymore, because she got it from Lee when they were on the run, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
what, the hat? No, she had the hat already.
Did she just always have it?
Yeah, she got it from her dad.
Oh, okay. Well, I think it's still. I would
what
like
you
to
were saying,
it's still a metaphor for the end of her.
Yeah, what you were saying before that was right.
Okay. But she's happy to give it to AJ, and there's this very beautiful moment where AJ wants to take it to the bedroom to put it on the desk.
Mm-hmm.
And as he goes through the hallway, he opens the door to the hallway, and it says, like, on the ground, the Still Not Bitten team, and it shows all of the developers from Telltale who continued to work on this game. Their names are etched in graffiti on the wall, and you just walk past all of them.
Mm-hmm.
You see Michael Kirkbride, you see Adam Eskenazi Douglas, you see Lauren Mee, you see them all as you go past. I thought I got real chills from it.
It very, very good.
Yeah, just it just what a victorious moment for this team to finally be able to say, like, we told the story. We knew it was going to be the final season. We called it the final season at the beginning. We knew it was going to be 4 episodes. We were exactly in the know of how this story was going to end, and we did it. We nailed it. We finally we were able to do it, calling ourselves Still Not Bitten in order to proclaim that they are not killed by the wheels of capitalism.
That didn't hit me until
moment.
that never occurred to me before. Just now in this scene, like I forget if we talked about it in the episode. If we did, I forgot. But yeah, just here I'm like, oh, still not bitten because they lived.
Yeah,
that's so good.
Yeah. It's the quote from Clementine in season 2, episode 1.
Yeah, but at the time, it just didn't hit me. At first, I was just like, oh, they named themselves after that cool, iconic scene from season 2.
Well, I'm sure that is mostly it, but
but
it has this.
It's very poetic.
Yeah, totally. And
AJ
puts the hat on the thing, and then it's over.
It says, "Thank you for playing," and when that popped up, I was like, that is like so impactful no matter when you play it, but I feel like it really hit me having just done 3 years of a Telltale podcast.
Yeah, I think it really mattered to me seeing those game developers just be able to say, like, yeah, we're going to have, knowing in the back of my head, like, it's going to be tough. Still Not Bitten as a team can't really stick together. It was so ragtag. It was like guerrilla warfare.
It was like specifically for this one thing.
Yeah, it was very project first. So like, it can't just stick around at least in the form that it was. And they're gonna have to find work elsewhere.
But it's so cool they were able to.
But they did
finish.
It.
Yeah, and they did it beautifully. Like, it would be one thing if it came out and it was like season 2 quality, not to rag on season 2, it had its good moments. But the fact that they come in and they go out, they pull it off with flying colors, just running around the baseball diamond over and over.
Yeah, totally. Shout outs to friend of the show, 2-time collaborator, I think, Courtney Altermentality.
Yeah.
Is it 2? Did she do it twice?
I think so. She was on one episode of season 3. Was she on one for 2?
No, she was on for Wolf.
Oh,
Wolf
right. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Twice collaborator. She messaged me earlier today, and she just said, like, that hallway scene, seeing all of the credits on the walls and knowing the circumstances under which it was made was really powerful, and she wanted to make sure we talked about it. We were gonna talk about it, but shout outs there as well.
Yeah, thank you.
I think we could probably talk about the role this has in Telltale's history.
Okay.
Forever. We could talk about other smaller parts of this episode. We could talk about the season wrapping up. Do you have any direction you want us to go in right now, Dustin?
I'm good
so
for
open.
Whatever.
Unhelpful.
Yeah, sorry.
All right.
This isn't like the start of a big conversation, but man, that song during the credits, I already talked about it earlier in the episode, but listening to it again in the car just really, really hit me in a way where it's like, they did it. They found it wasn't like perfect, not everyone lived, but they found a group they can finally be happy with for now.
Yeah, they found a group, they put themselves in a healthy, sustainable situation.
In a world where you've been just conditioned to think, like, these never work, and this one did.
Yeah.
And it's with a group of characters that you really like. I think they did
in
an
the back of
amazing
your head,
job.
like, this could fall apart. Lots of things do.
It's not a surefire thing, but for now, this is great.
If you get a year out of it, if you get 2 years out of it,
pretty good.
It's more than we could have asked for.
Yeah.
And I doubt any of these characters will have like a death by old age, but still, it's it's just beautiful that they were able to be in this situation. It's a very, very just. It's a time where I care deeply that it was a happy ending, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like they put me in a situation where I really care, and that's hard for me. I often care a lot more of like, well, what are they saying with it? But like, just to see them eating that meal at the very end was just beautiful to me. I do have one more thing about the episode I want to talk about before we go into the segments, which is the choices at the end of the episode when they show you the choices again.
Mm-hmm.
They do so in the form this time of they have a screen where they say it's what Clem taught me, and it's AJ's head, and just like a lot of
I saved these
thoughts around his head.
Yeah, I took screenshots of them and just had them open like this whole show.
Same here.
I have a feeling some of ours are gonna align, but should we just go through like what? Because there's a lot of them. Should we just go through like all of them that we got?
I want to talk about some highlights.
Okay.
There's like 30 of them. I don't know if we have the time, but one of them that surprised me that AJ apparently picked up that I don't recall, but that I do kind of recall, but it was a much smaller thing than this implies here. If people try to steal from you, it's okay to kill them. AJ learned that, and I think it was from Abel in like I want to say the first episode.
I think so. That has to be right. I don't have that on mine. Yeah,
that was the first page in the most upper right position for me. Do you have anything in that?
For me, it says sometimes you have to let people steal your stuff to avoid a big fight.
Yeah, I guess I wish I'd taught him that.
Well, what are you gonna do?
If you have to atone for something, it's hard, but people will forgive you.
I got that too.
That's good.
Yeah. I have one that was funny.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Try not to burp or fart at dinner, but sometimes you can if you think it's funny.
I got that too.
That's good.
That's true.
That's such a that would be important to a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
That's very funny. I like it.
Got one. If your grandma is dying, stop watching cartoons.
I also got that. That's good advice.
That's part of Violet's tragic backstory. She just kept watching cartoons because she didn't know how to deal with the fact that her grandma just died next to her while they were alone.
Exploded herself with a shotgun.
Yeah, real rough. Real rough.
I want to know if they were good cartoons. Was it worth it?
Even people who love you your whole life might not trust you with the big things, and that makes you freeze up.
Ooh, yeah. Where was that one? I wonder what it says for me.
That's like the very end of the second page.
Okay, so for me, it says, firefighters have to make the hard calls. Because he was talking to Clem about, before this, there were, policemen and firefighters who, had to protect people, but they're all gone. And AJ said, I'm going to be a new one of that. Protect people, make sure people are okay. Interestingly, Clementine does not say he should be a cop and goes for the firefighter angle, which is good.
I get that.
Yeah, good call. Yeah. Firefighters have to make the hard calls, and the hard calls are always unfair.
So this one's pretty big in the bottom left-hand corner, the 2 in the bottom left-hand corner of the second page.
Okay.
You can never get rid of your trauma, but there's no such thing as a monster self.
Interesting. So I feel like that kind of combines 2 of the ones in that spot for me. Those are 2 separate thoughts for me.
They are 2 separate thoughts for me too, but
okay.
I'm doing a little editing here.
I get you. So for me,
I'm presenting an idea.
For me, it says, doctors can help with your trauma, but I think they're all dead.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Huh.
and then says, "I thought maybe there were people inside monsters, but that was dumb. There's nothing in them at all."
It says that in there?
Yeah,
Wow. I don't remember if it says that. Yeah, I guess that's me. I guess for me, there's no such thing as a monster self.
yeah.
Interesting, yeah. Um,
One for me. I wonder if it says it for you. But it probably does. But for me, it says, "Killing is never easy or fun, so take it real seriously."
it does say it for me.
That's
And frankly,
interesting.
seeing that was a breath of fresh air because like it was teetering on the edge. It was just that moment where I was worried. Like, are you just getting a lot of pleasure out of killing?
Yeah, because it seemed like it was kind of leaning towards that.
Well, it seemed like it was leaning towards that, but there was also like the complication of, are you just saying that for James while he's here to freak him out?
Right.
Because you should freak James out. Like, how much of this do you really believe? But then after Clementine challenges his confidence, the possibility of that kind of reset, and then also seeing him save Clementine, I think gave him a much deeper appreciation for life as well. So like it could have gone either way.
True.
And I'm glad that he takes it seriously.
Yeah, totally. I love this kid. He's so good.
And what's so funny is like at the beginning of the season, Clementine has to tell AJ like, now what's the first thing you do when you enter a new place? And he'll just remember this like gospel. He'll remember this, whatever you say, it's the most important thing he's ever heard in his whole life.
Right.
Which is, for me, the first thing you do when you enter a new place is check all the windows.
Yeah, same.
It's just what you do. It's
check all the windows and then always aim for the head.
Yeah, that was mine too.
I feel like most of ours, other than those, will be the same.
Yeah, and then a lot of them were just funny ones. If we went through all of them, we'd be here all day. But
I like that they put some funny stuff in here too. I really like that for once in this whole series, you have an ending that can be lighter. Like, it would not make sense to have these funny lines here in seasons 1, 2, or 3's ending. But here it's great, and it's like, it's okay to smile at this.
Well, it's lighter in context, right? Like,
right.
10 died for you, Violet died for me.
Mm-hmm.
Minnie died. Lily really fractured the family regardless of whether or not she died.
Yeah.
James died for you. Lewis got his tongue cut out. Mitch died. Marlon was killed by AJ in an act of actual murder.
Yeah.
We watched Brody get murdered herself by Marlon. We heard that Sophie was shot by her own twin sister.
That's so
simply
fucked.
In an effort to gain a little more like cookie points with Lily.
Yeah, fuck Minnie. I've had it up to here with her, with this character.
And still, we're considering this a happy one.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of
all
of
things
that stuff,
considered.
all things considered,
it could have been worse.
I was sort of just asleep, like half asleep last night, thinking about The Walking Dead because I knew I had to record this tomorrow, and I had a thought about Abel, and I thought it'd be really funny if Abel was Jewish because the Torah is like a scroll rather than a book in its original form.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine that he had to take the whole scroll and roll it up as a blunt rather than smoking a single page of the Bible.
Right, that would have been like a hassle. He probably would have stopped.
I thought it was funny to think about.
He probably would have just been like, you know what? This was a fun idea. I feel like this isn't going to work out.
It's funny to think about.
Yeah. Speaking of Abel, something my sister had to point out to me is they kind of use him as a threat to outsiders. When AJ's walking back to the school, I didn't even notice. My sister pointed out, she was like, is that Abel? They just have like Abel with the big knife wound in his head and a big sign next to him that says, don't fuck with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's cool.
I mean, it's gnarly.
Yeah, don't let him go to waste.
Mm-hmm. Segments. Let's do it.
Well, hold on. One last thing
Okay.
before the segments. So it does what it does in all the other episodes where it tells you where you've left all the characters.
Right.
Did you write down yours?
No.
I did, mainly because one was very interesting. But so it said Lily is shamed. So yeah,
Okay.
what we said really got to her.
Yeah, I guess I didn't do it because I just knew where they all were.
Right. I just wrote it down because I felt like it would be good to talk about.
Sure.
Lewis is shaken, obviously.
He is for me too.
10 and James are dead, which makes sense. But the one I was interested in, it said Violet is loved, which makes sense, but it said only 12% got that.
Well, Violet is dead for me, so
True, but 12%?
I'm part of the 88%.
Right, but I mean, wow, that just seems like so low. I would have thought it would have been like a little more.
It was
down.
nearly 50-50 between Violet and Lewis, right?
Right.
And then let's pretend it's 50-50 again between telling AJ he can shoot Lily. So now you're down to a 25% chance that you are in love with Violet and you are in a position where it makes sense to tell AJ he can trust himself.
Right.
So he saves Violet. So that brings it down to 25%. And then imagine that choice itself being kind of controversial, even in that position. Maybe that's 50-50. That's half of 25%. That's 12.5%. So that actually is around 12%.
Okay. Mr. Math?
Yeah, I do a little number crunching.
You know a little something about 12.
I know a little bit about 12. I know a thing or two about a thing
12%, nothing.
Yeah, ain't nothing. I can math that one out in the back of my noggin.
Good for you, man. Okay, now I'm down to segment it up.
Okay. Yeah, for me, Violet is dead.
Whoops.
Oops. Yeah, and 10, I forget exactly what it says. Maybe I should have written that one down, but like he felt guilty, but it was also like happy that he has this friendship in AJ.
Right.
And can train with him.
Makes sense.
So I want to start with Weekly Guy. It's Clementine.
I gave it to Clementine. Yeah, boy, does she have to do a lot in this episode.
Yeah, really just cementing herself as, in my opinion, one of the top video game characters of all time.
I agree.
It's
been quite a ride seeing her grow up.
Yeah, if she wasn't from a franchise that is not video game first, I think we'd all be campaigning. We'd all be campaigning for her in Smash Brothers.
It would be weird. It would be so weird to see Clementine in Smash Brothers. But
yeah, every time you attack, you need to decide if you want to.
That would be so funny. It like stops the whole game.
Yeah.
It's like Mario to one side, Link to the other. Punch Mario, punch Link.
Yeah, I mean, she can't be in Smash Brothers.
I think she just can't.
Yeah, she probably just can't do it. I mean, almost none of the Telltale series are game first. Like I guess Monkey Island.
I to this day I think Guybrush is one of my most wanted. I would love to see him in Smash Brothers.
Tales from the Borderlands is game first.
Yeah.
Nelson Tethers, of course, because that's an original IP.
Mm-hmm.
Telltale Texas Hold'em.
Oh yeah, we could get Grandma Shaky in there.
Yeah, we can get Theodore Dudebro.
Oh, I know who I'm going to make one of those campaign Twitter accounts.
And of course Minecraft, and we did get Steve in Minecraft, so I think that's a win for Smash Brothers in the Telltale connection.
Hey, good for you. I guess, yeah. The loosest of wins. It's not like a story mode character got it.
Yeah, I mean you can play as Enderman though.
Oh, he was in it, yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
In Zombie? Sure.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, Minecraft Zombie. Yeah, no, Clementine is just a fantastic character. And yeah, I do want to talk about my choice cut though.
Okay.
Because this ties into Clementine. I wonder if it might also be yours.
Let's see. Let's find out.
at the very end of the episode, you can start answering people's questions as AJ. And Clementine asks AJ in tears, like, what I didn't tell you when we were on the road together all that time is that I never had a plan. I never had any kind of security that things would work out. And I just kept saying, like, we'll find something soon. And I was lying because I didn't know that. Did I do a good job? And she asks in tears if she did a good job.
She's like sobbing. She's not like a mess, but you can feel it in her voice.
This is the thing that I cried at. It absolutely broke me.
It's getting me a little choked up now. I didn't cry at the time, but now I'm like, oh.
Yeah, and the options, I don't even remember what all the other options are, because one of them at the bottom is AJ saying, "Of course you did."
Yeah, it says, "Are you serious? Are you joking?"
Yeah, like, "Are you serious? Of course you did." And I had to have him say that.
Yeah, of course.
And yeah, I broke down. Like, it just gives you, it's an inversion. I like it because it's in addition to just being impactful, it's very clever. It's an inversion of this station wagon guy trope that's been in all of these Telltale games up to this point. Of it like throws every choice that you've made back at you and asks you to examine, do you think you're a good person after what you've done?
Mm-hmm.
And in this one, instead of that, because like that just takes the form of, what does your AJ look like after you're all said and done with it?
Right.
Instead of being confronted with that, you are given the opportunity to tell yourself, you did as good as you could have possibly done in that situation. It's one like last gift that Telltale gives to the player, just to say, like, you're probably in a lot of different emotions right now, but I'm gonna give you one moment here where you get to say, do you think you did a good job? And just, if you do think that you did what you can let Clementine feel that. And at the end of the day, like, knowing that you did what you could have is so important for Clementine after all of this uncertainty in her life. It's just amazing. Just a very powerful moment.
Super good. Yeah, it's totally my choice cut too. It's wonderful scene. It just really helps this, because was this before or after they were eating dinner together and just enjoying each other's time?
I want to say it was after, because like after this, I think AJ goes inside.
Oh yeah, because after this he goes inside to put the hat on the desk. Yeah, so it's just this extra, like, wonderful little bow on top of this great feel-good, as good as it can feel scene of just being safe and with a group of people you like. And then to get this afterwards, it's great. It's wonderful.
Yeah. My golden moment was something you didn't even have, which is Ten coming back to AJ while he's fishing and having a conversation about, like, what Ten is good at and what AJ is good at, and how they can help each other.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably good. I mean, really, that choice cut was my golden moment, but I didn't want to double up on the categories.
Right.
Yeah.
It's more like, okay, well, this was the best part of the episode, but just to have some variety in the segments, this one was also very good.
I mean, that's the best part of most of these games we've played.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
It's a top 5, if like at least moment of like every game that we've played in this whole podcast.
Right.
So pretty high up. What is your golden moment?
It's just seems so obvious now. Just the whole end, like, just seeing the names of the credits in the hall, being able to explore your room just like one last time before calling it good, just giving you this chance to breathe after this whole adventure. You get this little, it's not, I think about how, like, season 1, that ending is incredible where Clementine has to shoot Lee, and that's great, but I really like how here it's like, we're just going to give you this good ending. And now, before we're all done, before we wrap it up, we're going to give you a moment to just breathe and let it all sink in. You can like put your collectibles up and around, and you get some really funny dialogue. AJ says like, "Why does Clem collect all these skulls?"
Yeah.
And so most of the things in this room you can only interact with once. AJ will just have one thing to say about them. You can say he will have so many lines of dialogue to say about Disco Broccoli. And all of them basically are just, this guy is the coolest fucking thing on the planet, and I dare anyone to tell me otherwise.
Yeah.
It's so funny. And I love how the last one is, he's just saying, Clem never told me what disco is. He loves this guy and has no idea what he even is about.
It reminds me of this tweet that came out. It just said, I stand by my point that in 1977, you just think Vader's first name is Darth. You just,
yeah,
that's what you just think his name is. I'm sure that Disco Broccoli's first name is just Disco at this point.
Did you get all the collectibles in this episode? You do find one last friend for him who's like, I forget the name, but it's like cauliflower or something.
Yeah, I think I found the cauliflower, but I have not been finding all the collectibles.
I only found them all in this one in episode 2, I believe. But
in episode 3, I got like 1 out of 6. And yeah. I some of them I have a little bit of an issue with, actually, because one of them was like, it's around the school, and it's a pennant for Erickson's school.
In the first episode?
Third.
Oh, okay.
And like it's around just on one of the walls in the school. That's where that goes. It's crazy for me to grab it.
Right. Well, I think it's fine in that, like, these decorations don't do or mean anything. It's just like a little bonus thing.
Sure, but like, if you're
I get you.
Why would I take that? It's right. Already in the school.
Right, but
I can't just
right, it's just like a nice little fun bonus reward for you trying to.
Yeah, I do like every scene that she's had where Clementine just finds a skull and she's like, "Ooh,
this rules.
This is kind of cool."
And AJ's like, "Why does she like these? This is not cool, I think."
I'm not loving this.
Well, it's just so funny because I never thought they would actually address it, but my sister and I were saying it like the whole time.
Like, some people just like skulls.
Yeah, and I get it. Like, I love drawing like skeletons and like skulls and stuff. It's cool. I get it. But like in this more, I guess I don't want to say realistic, but it is a more grounded reality of this story. It is funny to be like, why would Clementine specifically have an interest in collecting these?
She would have been a Hot Topic kid if that story existed in her life.
I like that. I like that it gives Clem a little something. Like it's just this little flourish to her personality that does not. It's not important, but it's just like in this world, in this like shitty zombie world, you still just get like, oh, this is just something she likes.
Yeah. Well, those have been our segments.
Yeah. I guess we're done.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening up to this point. This has been 3 years of our lives.
Mm-hmm. How does it feel knowing that we've played every Telltale game now?
Well, I've played every Telltale game like a week ago.
Yeah, that's true.
So
it's a new feeling for me.
Kind of be excited about that fact. It's cool. It really makes me hope that The Wolf Among Us 2 comes out and we're able to cover it. And
yeah.
Because even if that is then the end of modern Telltale, well, that would be upsetting, and I hope it does well. But
yeah,
I think we also have to address the fact that this game came with its own major round of layoffs.
Yeah,
that are as devastating, if not affecting a slightly smaller group of people, as the original Telltale closure. So it's not without its weird things to think about. But when we see it, we'll play it. Mm-hmm. And we'll talk about it like we have with everything so far.
Totally.
But yeah, Dustin, we'll talk more about our overall experience with our trudge through the sometimes great, sometimes other than great Telltale games that we've played. next week.
Whoa, we're doing
Yeah.
another one? Are you kidding me? Are you joking me right now?
Yeah, we'll have the talking, the telling, the tale, and we'll do a little recap episode. We'll have some things to talk about then. But in the meantime, thank you for listening up to this point. Thank you for the Still Not Bitten team. Thank you to them.
Thank
for
you so
being
much.
able to conclude the story so well and
Wonderful
I think
job.
importantly, yeah, I also agree it's a wonderful job. If I could imagine that, like, if it stopped at episode 2 and fans like held on to the idea of like make that final 2 episodes, it would have turned into something bigger than it had to have been for those final 2 episodes. They maybe would have stretched it out to a full season, or maybe
Right.
a different kind of game.
They're like, we have to make this into a bigger thing than we have planned for the fans because they did this.
Yeah, and it's I think this was the way it had to be.
A more pure experience.
And they nailed it.
Yeah,
they
totally.
really did.
Yeah, I think it's so hard for me to say, like, it's hard for me to say that this is better than season 1 just because I have that connection to season 1. I just loved it so much. But I think the more I think about it, I think I might actually prefer this over season 1. I just really like the character relationships. I like where it leaves us. Season 1 also just wonderful. Absolutely love it. But at least the feeling I'm feeling now is they just killed it with this cast and making me care about these characters. Yeah. And I just stellar job. I could not have asked for a better way to wrap up the series.
I completely agree. And we'll do more ranking of seasons versus seasons, not just Walking Dead, but other Telltale games as well, probably in our recap episode. So stay tuned for that. That'll be next week. And until then, Dustin, have a great summer.
Mitchell, I hope you have a good summer.